If you try to get right, then you listen to my dad. He's a beast. And if you don't want to listen to him, okay, you don't want to get successful. If you ain't trying to dominate, man, then go listen to something else.
Welcome, athletes, top performers, and all those looking to gain that killer instinct, that edge you need to dominate in any environment. This is the Sports Motivation Podcast, and I'm your host, Niyi Sobo. I played ball and succeeded at the highest levels, and I'm now committed to showing you how you can accomplish the ambitious goals and visions that you have. This podcast is designed to teach you high-level strategy, not just fluff and hype. This will cut to the core if you let it. And by taking action on the practical and next level advice I share, you will see results. Expect that. Expect to be more confident. Expect to be more focused. Expect to be more decisive. And expect to be more fearless. Expect to become the leader your vision needs you to become. So listen up. Take notes. Let's get to it. Welcome to the Sports Motivation Podcast. It's me, Niyi Sobo. Yo, if you haven't checked it out already, you guys know every Monday I come out with a Get Your Mind Right? And it gained a lot of traction. A lot of people liked it. People love it. And it's funny because it's actually one of the things I most enjoy recording. I tell you guys, man, I love hip hop. I'm not a rhymer, but let's just say I'd probably be a rapper in another life. And that's part of the reasons why I love spitting this shit over this podcast. It's why I love doing the Get Your Mind Rights over to some dope hip hop beats. I have a ton of fun doing it. But anyway, I'm talking about this right now because the Get Your Mind Right podcast, or the Get Your Mind Right series, if you will, is now a podcast of its own. And I drop 2 a week. So you are no longer going to be getting it on Monday through the Sports Motivation Podcast. You are going to have to download the Get Your Mind Right podcast, all right? So that you can consistently and more often get your mind right. So how can you do that? Real easy. You can go to IMNOTYOU.com/GYMR or just search for Get Your Mind Right in the library. Also going to be on Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, and some others as well, man. We doing it, man. We doing it. So go download that so you can follow up with that. But anyway, today, man, I'm excited because, you know, it's funny. The way I approach this podcast is I don't really, in the beginning, I had so much that I wanted to say when I first started this. I do not, like, people ask me how I do a lot of content. I do not ever run out of things to talk about. And in the beginning, when I first, there were so many things I wanted to address because of my time as an athlete. And because of all the time I spent training and now working with athletes on purely the mental side of the sport, that I had content for days, right? But as it went on, I'm like, listen, let me not just rely on myself for ideas that I have. Let me start to hear some feedback from you guys. I want to hear what you guys want to talk about and things like that. And I found it's a good balance, right? Not to purely listen to the fans or the listeners and not to only just do what I want to do. It's a balance. But one of the things that I found the most is that I have a lot of people who tell me that they want me to talk about this whole idea of how to deal with this thing we call burnout, or, you know, I guess that's the only way I've really heard it, burnout, right? Like mental fatigue, you know, sort of feeling weary or tired after reaching your goals. Maybe you have a goal that's far away. Maybe you've quote unquote failed a few times. Maybe you're getting a little frustrated. Maybe you're wanting to quit and you deal with this whole like burnout, just like, and it's really a feeling. A lot of times it's a physical feeling as well. And, you know, honestly, I don't deal a ton with that. But you know what was funny is as more and more people were telling me about it, I actually began to feel quote unquote burnout. So I don't know if that's, you know, this whole idea of what you focus on expands, or, you know, the law of attraction, where I'm thinking about it and now all of a sudden I'm starting to feel burnout. But it's not something I deal with a ton. And I'm going to tell you why, because I don't feel like I'm special or any different from you. I feel like it is a certain pattern of thoughts, certain habits, certain things that can contribute to that. But I'm gonna tell you how I choose to deal with it and how I choose to look at it. All right. And what I'm going to avoid is a bunch of, I was gonna call them corny, because I'm not gonna call them corny, because they're not corny, because they work. Nutrition, sleep, water, drinking water. But that's not what this podcast is about. All right. You can go to other places for that. And I'm not knocking anyone who does that. It's very necessary. I listen to those podcasts and I read those books, and it's a lot of value in that. But what I want to do is go a little deeper, all right, and challenge you a little bit as well, because that's where the real value will come in. We're talking about the long-term change, because this is not a burnout problem. This is not a burnout problem, all right? But I'm going to get to that. So there's a lot of reasons that one can feel burnout. Let's say you're training for the biggest fight of your career and it's 6 months out. Let's say you're working to get into law school and you got a lot of time, maybe 2 years, or maybe you're working to graduate law school, or maybe you are, just looking forward to this coming season in the fall, football season, and it feels far away. Maybe you're coming back from an injury and you're like halfway through, maybe 50%. You're dealing with this thing we call burnout. You start to feel, frustrated. You start to feel a little tired. You start to feel lackadaisical. You start to feel mad about the training and the things that you have to do on a consistent basis. And you start to shirk it a little bit. You start to avoid things a little bit. Maybe you start to complain and all these type of things that are symptoms of you feeling burnout. There's a lot of reasons why that is. It could be something as simple as a lack of sleep. Could be something as simple as a lack of proper nutrition. Maybe you're dehydrated, right? Isn't that true? It could be something as simple as that. We talk about when I went through my recent episode of feeling quote unquote burnout, what I realized is honestly just a lack of sleep. Because here's what I did. It was hilarious. I went to sleep. I just felt like I don't get a ton of sleep, and I don't take pride in that either, by the way. Like, I'm trying to figure out how I get my kids to sleep earlier, how I can get through some of the things I got to do earlier, as well as spend sufficient amount of time with my wife and not have it be midnight, 1 o'clock when I go to sleep. I'm trying to figure it out. But what I found out was, like, I'm not getting enough sleep, and I need to find a way to catch up on that sleep. All right. And so one day I noticed I was feeling like this thing we call burnout, right? Like, I'm frustrated, approaching these things and feeling mad and getting real irritable, kind of like when some people get when they get hungry. And I was like, you know what? I'm about to go to sleep at like 7. So I ended my day, I ate dinner with the fam. It was like, yo, I'm about to go to sleep, y'all. I'm going to sleep. It's like 7 o'clock. I'm going to sleep. So anyway, I went to sleep. I sleep very well at night, so I didn't have any problem sleeping. I woke up around 5. I felt amazing. Literally felt amazing. Just a few days ago, I had burnout, but now all of a sudden I got a solid, 12 hours of sleep or 10 hours of sleep. Now I'm feeling amazing. I remember walking my kids to the bus stop. I usually, when I walk them there, I don't talk a ton with the parents. But I was just like in this great mood. Not only did I feel great physically, I felt great emotionally. Like, I was in a awesome mood. I was like talking to the parents. Hey, how you doing? Yeah, awesome, man. And they were like, probably like, man, this dude don't ever talk to me. And now he's all conversational. So anyway, that something was as simple as a lack of sleep. So for you, is your nutrition, your diet's on point, all of that. So assuming it's none of those things, which I'm not going to talk about, you can go find a sleep podcast or some other thing. Go Google some top 10 tips for something else. But assuming it's none of those things, here are some realities, all right, about burnout and how I can kind of coach myself through it as well. So I'm going to go step by step through this, and then I'm going to really put things in perspective for you. So stick with me, all right? First of all, realize that it's not the end of the world. If you are feeling burnout, whatever emotion that you want to call it, there could be a lot of reasons, and it could be a quick fix. It's not the end of the world. So what I tend to do is I look for the low-hanging fruits first. So obviously drink some water, get some rest, and get some food. You got your basics taken care of. This is I can't remember this book that I read, about a parenting book. It actually was awesome. And it was saying, if your kid's like acting out, then you need to go through like this checklist, right? First of all, if he's young, is his diaper changed? Is he thirsty? Is he hungry? Does he need a hug? Now, let's say you do all those things and he's still acting up. Okay, now we need to dig a little deeper. Maybe you're not spending enough time with him. Maybe he's sick. There's a lot of things, right? But if you get to that low-hanging fruit first, what you'll find is a lot of problems are solved. So that's what I would do first if I were you. If I was dealing with this thing called overwhelm or burnout, I would look for the low-hanging fruit first, all right? And take some action on those things. Drink some water. See how it makes you feel. Eat some food. Eat some greens. A lot of, man, you know what surprises me is a lot of athletes who claim to be top tier, who claim to be, approaching their sport with a serious mentality and a serious approach. Your diets are horrible, dude. That's like 101, man. Master nutrition. You don't know the right foods to eat. That's 101. Get yourself a nutritionist, read some books, know about what your body needs in order to be fueled properly for your sport. So I got to add that in there. Now that we've taken care of that, the next thing that I look at if feeling quote unquote burned out is I want to know, do I know what must be done? Do I have solid plans in order? Because I know for me, when I'm unsure about what to do every day, that takes a toll on me mentally. And I become a lot less disciplined. And I don't know if you're anything like me, but I like having plans. I like knowing what it is that I have to do next. That to me doesn't make me feel rigid. It actually frees me up. I actually have more freedom. I was interviewing George Mumford the other day. Mindfulness expert, sports psychologist, worked closely with Michael Jordan and the Bulls in the 90s. Phil Jackson's right-hand man, took him to LA as well, worked with Kobe, even helping him do work with the Knicks now as well. And he said structure leads to freedom. You must have structure. So you must have solid plans in order. So that's what I would ask you. I would want to know from you, you're feeling burned out. Are your plans laid out? Do you have legitimate, well thought out, well constructed plans laid out in writing in a way that resonates with you that you can follow and go from every day? I would do that. All right. Now, let's say you're doing that. Let's say you got all the basics taken care of. You got your plans laid in order, but you're still feeling burnout. I would ask you, are you tracking and are you celebrating your wins? All right. Now, if you're listening to this, I can guarantee you're probably an achiever. You're probably someone who's type A, wired, driven, want to succeed, loves doing well, loves success, loves accomplishment. But you know what's funny is as much as we love those things, we never really allow ourselves to feel successful or feel accomplishment because we're so busy being quote unquote hungry and never settling. And I put those in quotes, not because it's a bad thing, but because anything too much, anything in excess is a bad thing. If you're always never satisfied, that's not a good thing. That's not what life necessarily requires of you. Now, you should have a general feeling of never being satisfied and always wanting to level up. However, there is a time to feel content, to feel at peace, to feel one with yourself, to say, yes, I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of the things that I'm doing right now. And when you're feeling burned out, I can guarantee you're not doing that consistently enough. I can guarantee it pretty confidently because I know that I don't do it nearly as much as I should. And I actually have it scheduled in my days. So are you doing that? Because if you're not tracking and celebrating wins, then that means you're starting to associate negative things to your goals. It's like if you have a dog, right? And he's a puppy, and you take him out to go pee in the grass, and he pees, and you never tell him good job, you never give him a little treat, you never give him, he's not gonna know what to do. He's like, I don't know if it's a good thing or not that I'm going to pee on this grass. So next time I'm gonna go pee on the carpet. And then we want to slap him when he pees on the carpet. We want to say bad dog when he pees on the carpet. No, opposite. Reward him when he pees on the grass. Reward yourself when you pee on the grass, meaning when you accomplish things, when you get a lot done, when you have a great workout. And if you don't chastise yourself. Don't slap yourself. By the way, I don't slap dogs. Just letting you know, we actually just had a dog, a puppy. His name was Rocky. He was a beautiful dog. And we had him for about 2 weeks. And we had to, give him away because I found out that having a dog is much like having a newborn baby, and I didn't get the memo. So, and I also believed all 5 of my kids when they told me that they were going to be the ones taking them out to go pee. So what happened was I was the one waking up 4 o'clock in the morning, taking little Rocky out to go pee while my kids were asleep and fighting over who it is that's going to walk them and do all this. So I was like, all right, put an end to that real quick. But my point is, you need to celebrate and track your wins. You need to do that more often. So what does that look like practically, all right? It looks like this. It looks like after you work out, you say to yourself, hell yeah. You go around the gym slapping hands. Hell yeah, man. We did that shit. Hell yeah. Let's get it. Oh, that sounds crazy. That sounds weird. That's exactly why you're burned out. You talk, I think it's Zappos. Company Zappos. They blast music like every hour, dancing. You ever been in a Tony Robbins convention? This dude got music blasting all day because he gets it. He understands neuroassociations. He don't want you being bored at his 13-hour a day seminar 4 days in a row. He wants you to have positive associations. So we're gonna celebrate good things that happen. We're gonna celebrate it. And we're going to over-exaggerate it. I don't mean going out and getting, a big-ass milkshake after you do a workout. No, that's not what I'm talking about either. Because that's going to have harmful negative effects. But what's it going to affect you if after you get done with your set, you say, hell yeah, let's go, baby, and you blast some music? What's going to affect that? After you get done with your training and you just did your thing, you start blasting some music, getting hyped. What's that gonna do? That's gonna associate positive feelings to your goals. But you do it and you let's look around. You worked your ass off and you start complaining about what you didn't do. No, it's a time and a place for that. But what you do right after is you celebrate it. Celebrate those wins. All right. So the next thing you do, let's say you're doing that. You're celebrating your wins. What I'll ask you, do you know why what you're doing must be accomplished? That's what I'll ask you. Because if you're feeling burnt out, then you might not be associated enough to the purpose of what it is that you're doing. The purpose, like what's the reason behind it? And if I ask you, and it has something to do with, just something that's not very emotionally resonating, it doesn't stick, it doesn't feel real, it doesn't feel nice. We're reaching after goals maybe for someone else. Someone else told us we should. We've always felt like we had to, but we've never really identified what the real purpose is behind what it is that we're doing. You have to know what your purpose is. And remember, I talked about in the episode before about how to find your life purpose. The purpose is a feeling. It's a feeling. We should be able to say it in words. That helps, but it's a feeling. And your job is to condition that feeling on a daily basis. If I know the feeling behind my goals, I know what I want to do with I'm Not You. I know how I want to position myself. I know how many people I want listening, what type of success, all the type of success that I want, the impact that I want to have. That's a feeling behind it. If I prime that feeling each day, I make that my goal to feel each day, not when I reach my goals, but right now. You tell me, am I going to get burned out? Am I going to get burned out? Because now every single day, every time I step into my office to do my work, to do my game time, every time I coach, every time I go speak, now I've got positive associations to what I'm doing. There's no burnout there, man. Go look up your favorite athletes. They don't get burned out. You know the type of athletes who need a 4-week vacation after the season? Those are the ones we don't remember in 10 years. The ones we remember forever, you got to drag them away. Michael Jordan had to put a special clause in his contract. When he did Space Jam, he had to put a clause in his contract that said, yo, I need to be able to play basketball. Every single in between takes, in between, when we do little movies, the movie screenings or whatever, I need to be able to play basketball. I need to be able to train. He put a special clause in his contract with the Chicago Bulls that said, I'm going to play pickup basketball all season long. Because most of the time they tell you can't do that because they don't want you to get hurt. But for Michael Jordan, it was different. Michael Jordan loves the game. You couldn't pull him away from it. No such thing as burnout. Not with MJ, not with Cobes, not with Steph. Not with LeBron. Not with KD. Now, maybe with some, I'm not going to say no names. The ones who got to go to the club. The ones we see, on the yachts. In between games. Come on, man. Understand your purpose behind what it is that you're doing. The next thing I would say is to schedule your day a certain way, all right? Now, this has been a major key for me, to schedule more rest and recovery in each day. So a lot of times we have this idea that to quote unquote grind means we need to be grinding all day. Yeah, no sleep, baby. Waking up at 4, going to sleep at midnight, working all day. No, that's dumb. That's dumb. That's not even what's required of you, man. That's not necessary, and it's hurting you. Now, what you should do is when it's time to work your tail off. But when you're resting, rest your tail off. When you're enjoying yourself, enjoy your tail off. Give yourself that honor, that privilege. Give yourself that gift of resting when it's time. So take a nap, man. Take a nap. 10-minute nap. Sit down to eat. Enjoy yourself. Schedule more rest and recovery in each day. Another thing I would say, and this is a very small distinction, it would seem like, and when I first learned this, I actually learned this from Tony Robbins' book, Awaken the Giant Within. It's a very big book. It's one of the most impactful books that I've ever read. 400 plus page, I think. And it was a little intimidating at first to read, but it's a bunch of great stuff in there. But one of the things he talks about is the power of words and the power of metaphors that they have on us. So our subconscious mind thinks in terms of images. So words represent images to us. So when we say burned out, we're burning out. That's an image that produces a feeling. So if we know that, then we would be smart to use better metaphors. So instead of saying you're burned out, maybe you're pushing through to a new level. Instead of saying I'm beat, maybe you're up against some resistance. And what do when you're up against resistance, lifting weights, training? You push through, right? But that's much different from saying I'm beat and I'm burned out. And I know you're saying, oh, like, what's that going to matter? The words. Listen, when we start talking about the next level, right? Like taking your game to the next level, some of you already accomplishing at a high level. The devil's in the details. So when you start finding those small distinctions and start stacking them, or start even just taking a small distinction like the words that you use and start consciously deliberately applying that to your life. Start consciously using different words. Instead of saying I'm busy, saying I'm excited about what it is that I have to do. When my kids say I don't know, that always rubs me the wrong way. Don't say I don't know. What if you said, let me think about that? Let me think. Let me use my mind to think. Those words produce a different feeling. If you do it consistently, if you do it and actually believe it will work. And that's the thing, that's a challenge I know with a lot of this information that we're always consuming, right? Is that we almost become, numb to it. Don't become numb to it. Your job is to approach it with a beginner's mind each day. Like the Buddhists talk about meditation, a beginner's mind each day. Every time you hear something, you look at it a new way. Like a child would. So use better metaphors. I just gave you we just talked about a bunch of things, and I know that you're going to apply some of those or all of them. And even if you did that, I believe that you can overcome this problem of burnout. But you know what I really think is the reason why you're burned out? This is what I think. I think it's because you're being a little bitch. That's what I think. I think it's because you're strumming the violin. What Justin Timberlake calls crying a river. And the reason why I can say that with confidence and not to disparage you or to discourage you or to look down upon you is because that's what happens with me. That is the thing underneath it all that's going to kill your progress. Being weak, being soft, mentally soft. Because I want you to think about it, honestly. Look at what you're doing. What is it that you're doing anyway? What are you doing? What do you do every day? You train. Where do you sleep? Like, think about where you live, where you sleep, what you eat every day, what you have access to every day, what you do every day. You probably have a phone. Think about the hot water that you use, the trainers that you have. What are you doing anyway? To do what? To play a game, to win a game, to get a medal. And then you look at all of that and you act like it's so hard. So hard. It's so difficult, huh? It's so difficult to go work out. Training. Oh, man. Dude, I only got 7 hours of sleep last night. I got to go to school and all this shit. You come to my office, man, and I told you this. You look at who's on my wall. Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Michael Jordan, Frederick Douglass, Muhammad Ali. Do you know what happens when I start strumming that violin? I look at my wall and I remind myself that whatever little goals I'm reaching after ain't shit compared to the impact that these guys had. And guess what happens when I start strumming the violin? If I look past the past couple days, you know what I'm doing? I'm comparing myself to others. I'm saying, oh, this guy only does this, but I do this. I'm comparing myself. It's a mistake. I'm eating the cheese. Here's the other thing. Here's another thing that leads to that. Is you will, if you are accomplishing at some sort of level that's maybe better than average people, right? Is that people will start telling you how good you are. They'll start gassing you up. They'll start talking about how, oh my goodness, how do you do that? You have, like, people tell me you have 5 kids and, you're doing this and, and you know what? You know what? It's like a straw goes into my ear and head just blowing up. Start smiling like, yeah, it is tough. It's tough. I'm just trying to just do my thing, stay focused, and you know what happens is I start to eat the cheese. I start to think that I'm doing my thing. I remember when I was a firefighter, man, and there was this one guy that I worked with, and he was super cool, man, super nice dude. And he would see me, I would be at the firehouse, right, like working out. Eating healthy, trying to do my thing, trying to stay on my track, trying to stay focused, trying not to get burned out, right? And you know what this guy would do? He would give me so many compliments. He would overwhelm me with compliments. It was actually kind of awkward. He would, make comments about how strong I was and, how cool I was. I mean, and it was legit kind of awkward. But he had a good heart. He was coming from a good place. But you know what I found? What happened? This happens naturally. None of us are immune to this. But the mentally strong people understand this, and they stay watch guard at their mind. Napoleon Hill talks about this in Outwitting the Devil. In that, the devil says that one of the methods he uses with men is inflating their egos, appealing to their ego. So when this guy would give me so many compliments, I would start to feel, number one, like I was really cool. I would believe the hype. And then number 2, I would start to feel like, maybe I can take a break because after all, I'm really cool, right? Like I've worked out twice today and, maybe I should take a break and, eat some ice cream and watch some movies with these guys. Maybe I should maybe I should wake up a little later tomorrow. Maybe, you know what, when I get home, instead of recording 3-4 podcast episodes, maybe I should just take a long nap. Go to the mall with my wife, buy some stuff. Maybe I should, take a little break for a little bit. And then guess what? When it's time to actually do the work again, I'm frustrated, telling myself stories, making excuses. Then I start to act like I'm burned out. Bullshit. I'm not burned out. I'm not burned out and being a little bitch. That's what's happening. Because I'm eating the cheese, making myself feel better than I really am. So of all the things that I talked about, like, ask yourself honestly, are you strumming a violin? Are you looking at whatever it is that you're going through? And listen, I don't know what your goals are necessarily. I can imagine what they are. I don't know how difficult it is for you, but I look back at some of the periods of my life when I was training at Portland State. Actually, no, this was my first year at Oregon State, or my second year at Oregon State, working 2 jobs, one with an internship with a lawyer, the other at this old people's home, serving food, working out every day of the week, driving around in a little gray Ford Tempo, 88 Ford Tempo, with no AC, armpits sweating through my white collared shirt, going to work out at 24-hour fitness with 2-week passes that I would print out over and over again and go to different 24-hour fitnesses. My first son had just been born. Living at his mom's parents' house. Eating eggs and rice. That was like my main diet. I don't know. I didn't know much about health back then. Eggs and rice with soy sauce and sriracha on it. Was all I ate. Didn't have a ton of money. Working my tail off. Had a newborn. 7 days of the week I was working, 7 days. But check it. I never dealt with burnout. Never. I was never like, oh my God, this is so hard. Because I knew what I wanted to do. So you dealing with burnout, what the hell are you trying to do anyway? What's the purpose behind it anyway? It's your goal. So you got a choice when you feel burned out. Quit or keep going. Get rid of the violin, all right? Compare yourself to those who are much better than you, doing way better than you, accomplishing way more than you, way more productive than you, way stronger than you, way faster than you, got it way worse than you. You don't got it bad. You don't got it bad. You don't. That's a fact. The fact, the quote unquote fact that you got it bad is all in your head. That's how you're choosing to see it. So what you need to do is focus on why you're doing it. Get back to the basics. Take care of yourself. Get some sleep. Get some rest. Check all the boxes, right? All the necessary boxes. But at the end of the day, you need to focus on why you're doing it and compare yourself only to the best. That is how you avoid burnout. Don't compare yourself to the masses. Don't look around at your friends and your peers. No, you cannot have the same standards as your friends and peers. No, that is not how you become a leader, by having the same standards as everyone else. You become a leader by having ridiculously high standards for yourself. Don't use your friends, your mom, your dad, your wife, don't use them for your standards. And that doesn't mean judge them. This has nothing to do with them. You put your standards high. But matter of fact, it does have something to do with them, because by you doing that, you're going to push them to grow. You're going to inspire them. Isn't that what inspires us? Isn't that why I'm inspired by Frederick Douglass? Isn't that why I'm inspired by Dr. Martin Luther King? Isn't that why I'm inspired by Muhammad Ali? They had higher standards, way higher standards than I do. So my job is to put my standards up there with them and work my ass off to try to get there, work my tail off. And by doing that, you know what will happen? I'll grow. And do you know how I feel when I grow? I feel good. Do you know how I feel when I'm not growing and I'm avoiding the anxiety and pain that comes along with growth? I feel burned out, quote unquote. And don't mistake burned out with feeling natural pain, natural fatigue that comes along, natural resistance. That's natural, man. That's not burnout, yo. That's not a problem. That's not even a word that you should have in your dictionary, in your vocabulary. Let's throw that out. But that's what we call it, right? So let's be honest with yourself. I want you to ask yourself these questions now as we close up. I want you to ask yourself legit, do you really have it bad? Because if you're feeling burned out, there's a story that you're telling yourself about what's going on and how tough it is and all of this shit. Is it really that hard? Is it hard compared to Frederick Douglass? Is it hard compared to Michael Jordan? Remember I talked about Ray Allen, greatest three-point shooter of all time? Actually, probably second best now that Steph Curry's in the league. But what he would do is a sprint up and down the court until he's dead ass tired. Then he would start shooting. And he was doing that late into his 30s. Come on, man. What you're going through is not that tough. Is it that hard? Ask yourself that legit. And now ask yourself, what is your plan for quote unquote avoiding burnout? Instead of feeling burned out, how are you going to double down on your motivation, your purpose, your energy, your juice, your enthusiasm behind what you're doing? What's your plan? And now get to it. Don't use the word burnout no more. Nope, it's not in your vocabulary. We focus on what we want, and we don't want burnout. So what do we want? Focus, energy, enthusiasm, excitement, juice, motivation, power, courage. Let's do that. All right? Talk soon. Thank you for tuning in to the Sports Motivation Podcast. Make sure if you dig in the podcast, go and subscribe so you can always get the latest episodes. I come out with a new episode twice a week on Tuesday and Friday at 3 a.m. Eastern. And make sure you go ahead and rate it and leave me a good review. As always, I appreciate you tuning in, and I'll talk to you soon. Much love. One of the most common questions I get from athletes all the time is this: what is the single best thing I can do to reach my goals? How can I set myself apart from everybody else? Obviously, there are a lot of things, but the one thing that's helped set me apart was having a coach, a mentor, someone to show me the right strategies and how I need to do things specifically to achieve my results. So you could try to do it on your own, but you'll end up making many mistakes that could have been avoided if you had someone guiding you and coaching you along the way. 99% of athletes in the world have expert coaches to show them the things that they can't see. If you want to work with me as your coach, I want you to go to IMNOTYOU.com/SRC and learn more and sign up for a free coaching session. I'll give you 60 minutes of my time for free, and I can teach you some dynamic strategies, plus show you how you can secure me as your sports results coach. All I ask is that you fit in this criteria. You're serious about your sport, you're willing to invest the time and money, and you have clear goals of taking your game to the next level, or some sort of specific results you want to achieve. This is definitely not for everyone, and I have very limited spots available for this. So, if this applies to you, I want you to take action. Go to IMNOTYOU.com/SRC, and I guarantee you're going to take your game and your career to the next level.